Good evening. At this time, I'd like to call to order the regular Board of Education meeting for Lincoln Way Community High School District 210 for September 17th, 2020. Please stand for the pledge if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Janik?
Here.
Ms. Janice Doyle? Here. Mr. Kirking?
Here.
Mr. Lacine? Mr. Lucetti?
Here.
Mr. Kostick?
Here.
Mrs. Stokes?
Here.
Thank you. Moving on for public comment, we have David Dubois. Dubois? You're okay? Okay. Moving on, we do have two folks that wrote in, and we could read those. Four, I'm sorry. We're each reading two. Let me try that again. You want to go first? Want me to go first?
Members of the Board of Education and administrative team, I've watched the proceedings of the last several board meetings and listened to the emails of those community members advocating for either in-person instruction or remote learning. While some arguments were supported by factual evidence and others were based on little more than speculation, I listened to all the public commentary as it was read because I do believe every community member of or LW parent is entitled to voice their opinion. What I find troubling, however, and the reason I feel compelled to make public comment this evening, is the disregard by the board administration for what is best for students. The hybrid plan as presented to the public requires the outsource of any student who chooses remote learning to the Acellus Academy. This decision requires that any student who chooses remote instruction be dropped from any elective course not offered by Acellus. Since Acellus offers a host of CTE courses as well as world language courses, the decision to drop electives is unfairly directed at students in fine and applied arts. Acellus offers no options when it comes to band, orchestra, choir, or art. Students enrolled in these courses, most of whom have worked hard for many years to be placed in advanced or honors level fine arts courses and whose families have spent a great deal of money on instruments and private lessons, are expected to sacrifice all they have accomplished in these areas. By providing electives to on-site students and punishing those students who choose remote learning by taking them away, you're creating an inequitable and unfair opportunity for one group of students over the other. I find it morally reprehensible that board members and administrative team members would make such monumental decisions based upon what is convenient for adults without considering what is best for students. And it is bordering on criminal that you would force a child to choose between what they are passionate about in school and their health or that of a family member. I urge you to reconsider this decision and put the well-being of students at the center. Thank you, Robert Gennardo, LW parent, Mokina resident.
I am writing this email regarding the concerns I have for the alternative educational program offered to students who opt out of in-school learning because of health concerns related to COVID-19. The remote learning program, Acellus, which is the alternative educational plan offered for those students in District 210 who choose e-learning, has recently had complaints over offensive content. Quote, schools in at least 2 states have cut ties with online education provider Acellus Learning Accelerator over concerns about offensive curricular material, raising questions about how districts vet digital content and respond to social media criticism. In addition to a handful of schools in Hawaii, multiple schools and districts in California have dropped the Acellus curricular materials in recent days over concerns about offensive and inappropriate content. End quote, from an article written by Benjamin Harold from Digital Education on August 31st, 2020. My question is, why can't those students who request e-learning alternatives be provided with live streaming of their classes? They will be exposed to the same content they have been learning as well as the same teachers they have been meeting with since August. The technological aspects of virtual learning are already in place. There is no valid reason that students who need to learn virtually should be deprived of an education commensurate to their capabilities instead of being placed in a credit recovery program. I have spoken with a representative of the State of Illinois Board of Education who has told me that virtual learning should have the same academic quality as in-school learning. He referred me to the 1959 Federal Supreme Court ruling that assured equal education for all learners. It is my hope that should it be decided that in-school learning be implemented at this time, due consideration be given to those students who choose to learn virtually. Separate but unequal education is not only unconstitutional, it is unethical. Respectfully, Betty Perez.
This is from Darlene Cruz. First, I'd like to thank the teachers for all their hard work in trying to do their best with our kids. Second, I'd like to point out e-learning is not working. Students that are normally good or even average kids are lost and have below average grades at this time. Students who are normally active and happy are now sitting in a room alone and depressed. Here are the issues we have faced. Number one, computer died and took too long to reboot, and when it did, Wi-Fi and schooling programs wouldn't allow to rejoin. Number two, lost sound week 2. Now we are on a computer with no camera to show student, and seems like a few teachers are not thrilled they cannot see student. Number 3, day 3, multiple classes expected to see students doing physical activities. Issue, not enough space, interrupts environment around student. Number 4, cooking class. Had to go to store to get all ingredients. No one at home eats. Item being prepared, waste of money, and if we are sending kids to stores to get items, why isn't it safe for them to be in school? Number 5, teacher canceled class last minute because he had a personal appointment. Students feel lost on assignments. They don't feel teachers are teaching. Some students need a crash course on how to use Teams or apps teachers are using to teach or post work. Some have never used these medias to do work and are unaware of how to take a picture and attach it to a specific form in-school app the teacher wants and then send it to teacher, for example. This is frustrating the student and stressing them out. They feel dumb and lost, and this is not helping our kids learn and have any positivity in their life or learning capabilities, so they are feeling down and alone. I just wanted to point out a few issues my family has come across. I hope the students can resume in-school learning ASAP, and I hope the teachers can be reasonable and help those that are struggling already without making them feel singled out. Thank you, a concerned parent.
Consistency will make either learning process easier. Teachers and students are just getting the hang of online learning. Please stick to something we can go with for an extended period of time. Thank you for all of your work. Dominic Rinker. And that concludes public comment for the evening. Moving on to presentations. Curriculum and instruction update.
Dr. Ferry.
Good evening. The purpose of tonight's curriculum and instruction update is to share the progress we've made with remote and blended learning. Looking back at this spring, we just had a few days' notice that we were moving to remote learning. Although our teachers did a great job with the time and the resources they had, we knew as a district that we could do better. So this summer, we decided to prepare the Lincoln Way curriculum for any of the 3 possible scenarios for fall: in-person learning, blended, or remote learning. We began by creating district curriculum leadership teams made up of department chairs from each of the Lincoln Ways, led by a district liaison. Each leadership team then organized teachers into course groups to collaborate and plan our curriculum to be instructed and assessed in either and both remote or blended models. All 13 departments took part in over 130 course group meetings, totaling nearly 1,400 hours of curricular collaboration, revision, and planning. As a result, over 200 schedules, calendars, and other curricular planning documents were submitted by course group teams in preparation for the beginning of the 2021 school year. Hand in hand with curriculum and instruction preparation, teachers also took part in technology workshops this summer as well. 9 separate departmental workshops led by our instructional technologists were offered. 240 teachers participated in at least 3 hours of training each, resulting in over 700 hours of tech training specifically to prepare for remote and blended learning this fall. The two major platforms that we focused on over the summer was WebEx and Microsoft Teams, which Brian is going to share more with you now.
Thanks. After listening to parents and community members regarding our remote and blended learning, we quickly realized the importance of embracing a single platform for our students. Microsoft Teams is our home base for our students. Similar to the Google Classroom, every class a student is enrolled in is available on a student's home Teams page, allowing for consistency when accessing classroom materials. We have over 400 staff members utilizing Teams and approximately 2,100 different sites. Through all the changes we experienced throughout the spring and summer, another challenge was how do we present material to the 6,800 students that we deal with on a daily basis. During the summer, we purchased the WebEx program. This has allowed us to present nearly 1,500 meetings every day. It has allowed us to reach out to students who are not in our classes in a different way. Knowing we were streaming so many lessons, connectivity of our students was an area of concern. Currently, we have loaned out over 1,300 laptops, and we continue to work with our students and families to help keep them connected. We also focused on students who have opted out of blended learning and have chosen to participate in the SELS programming. Our supervisors, we have 7 of them, conduct daily check-ins and monitor progress with these students. We've conducted 106 support sessions a week for the over 3,000 different courses that students are enrolled in. I'd like to end with just another metric. The attendance and participation of our students has been pretty outstanding. Based on the attendance that's been recorded, 99% of our students are attending and are participating in either one of the remote learning programs that we have currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the, was that the AP update?
It is not.
I didn't think so.
And now for the AP update. Oh, I lost it. Hang on. Sorry. Technology. Gotta love it. There we go. All right. So tonight I'm going to give you a brief summary of our spring 2020 AP assessments. Our biggest change from the spring of 2020 was that all of the AP assessments were conducted online. An interesting format that also included an adjustment in the amount of curriculum that was being assessed. With all these changes that occurred, we still had a significant increase in the number of students that actually were enrolled in and participated in an AP assessment. While the total number of students enrolled in classes remained about the same, just over 6,000, the percentage of students that actually took an AP exam was somewhere about 75%, which is, again, right about the same as where we were in the past, despite all the crazy changes that occurred with the AP testing. The overall breakdown of the results, the highlighted column that you see there, represents the percentage of students who had earned a 3 or better on the exam. I broke it down into general content areas so you can see the science, math, world language, fine arts, English, and social science. The vast majority of our students that take an AP exam take it in the area of social science. To kind of highlight that area, 50% of the students who took an exam, 58% of the students who took an exam in social science area ended up earning a 3 or better on that exam, which is a pretty good percentage. Overall, 64% of our students who took an AP exam earned a 3 or better. This is right about the same percentage as where we were in 2019. Breaking it down by class, this chart shows the percentage of our students who have earned at least 1 3 or more on an AP exam. So 41% of our students have earned a score of 3 or more by the time that they have graduated on at least one exam. And you can kind of look at the percentages up there. You know, our biggest jump in growth from 2019 to 2020, as you think about and you follow our students, in 2019 they were freshmen, in 2020 they were sophomores. We look at that group there, that's the largest growth that we've seen as far as the number of students and the percentage that have earned a 3 or better on an AP exam. Our Lincoln Way students continue to excel when it comes to AP exams. Over 600 students have earned some type of AP Scholar recognition, which is passing a minimum of 3 exams with a 3 or more. Now you can see, again, the far right graph, the 616 is the 2020 results, and the one just to the left of that, the 626, is the 2019 results. So again, with all the different types of testing that occurred in 2020, our results are about the same. We still have a significantly, almost identical number of students earning that AP recognition. Some special recognition goes out to some of our most scholarly students. These 31 students have earned the status of National AP Scholars, scoring a 4 or 5 on 8 or more exams. The number next to their names represents the total number of exams the students have taken here while at Lincoln Way. Continuing the celebration of how successful our students have been, we had 848 students complete dual credit with Joliet Junior College. The newest addition this past year was our welding course. Overall, the AP assessment and the dual credit opportunity stayed the same as in previous years, even with the uniqueness of the closing of the 2019-2020 school year. And that is all. Any questions?
Moving on to the consent agenda, which includes approval of the special meeting minutes from August 4th, 2020, approval of the regular meeting minutes from August 13th, 2020, approval of the emergency meeting minutes from August 18th, 2020, approval of the closed meeting minutes from August 4th, August 13th, and August 18th, 2020, approval to hold the closed session minute summaries from January 1st through May 31st of 2020, and approval of the payrolls of August 20th and September 4th, 2020. Would anyone like anything pulled from the consent agenda for discussion? With that, I'd entertain a motion to pass the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. If you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open in a moment. Now the vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the action items. Presentation of invoices from August 14th, 2020 through September 17th, 2020.
Motion to approve the invoices in the amount of $2,656,125.31 dated September 20th, 2020. I'm sorry, September 17th, 2020.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? With that, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the treasurer's report for July and August of 2020.
Thank you. In your package is the July and August meeting. I will only focus on the August numbers, as that's the most current month. We received revenue around $4.4 million, while we expended $7.1 million in expense, bringing our cash balance to $21.4 million. As far as the monthly cash flow goes, we had anticipated that the 90-day delay in property taxes could have had a bigger effect. They've actually not to date. We're actually trending a little ahead of prior years in tax collection. So we had a positive variance of $1.8 million for the month. Remember, this is just a month-over-month variance on how we're estimating, so we ended up with more cash in the bank than we anticipated. When you look at our year over year, as far as or cash balances, in August of 19, we had 9.2 million. This year, of August 20th, we have 21.4 million, 12 million more. Part of that is to do with the returning of our 4 million in health insurance from the cooperative, and then just tax collection is running ahead of prior years, and then expenditures are trending slightly below. As far as revenue goes, we're off to a great start. I already said tax collection is very strong. Areas of concern, interest income is substantially down as the interest rates has pretty much fallen out. We're getting about a 0.25 on most investments. So we were not going to recover from that, and we will be under budget on our revenue for interest income. As far as student admission and fees, we are running slightly behind on that. Some of that's just to do with a little bit of collection. We plan to follow up, and we'll continue with that collection. But another part of that is the fact that we had no student summer payrolls, if you will, because we didn't have any student activities in the summer, and the student fees would be reimbursing us for that. So that's a offsetting on both sides, lower revenue, lower expenditures. And then, of course, food service revenue is, almost non-existent, which we'd expect, and we don't expect that to go up until we resume, in-person instruction. As far as expenditures go, we're off to a good start. We're trending below expectations, which you would expect. We have lower salaries, which is to do with the reduction of overtime and extra bus runs and et cetera. Benefits are trending about at the same level because we did have assessment from IMRF on some current retirees that just happened. So anyway, we paid those. And finally, just to note that we did close on September 1st on our TAWs, and so we're all set for a cash flow for the rest of the year. Any questions on the report?
Brad, I was hoping we could talk a little bit about the insurance. So I meant to buzz in, but I missed it when we were talking about the invoices. So on the invoices for August, there was a July medical claims, and it was $534,000 for Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I know we're starting now to see the expenses come in. Is there going to be, because we talked about when we moved it, we were going to have some sort of tracking report, and it's hard to see what revenues came in to offset that and where we are in that $4 million if we're bringing that down or not.
Right.
Our reserves are going up or down.
Right.
So
we plan to report quarterly to the board. So we will have, for the first quarter, we will have that report in October. And we will show, of course, our beginning balance, revenues in, expenditures out, ending balance, et cetera. So we'll have that and we are tracking that separate. So even though the physical cash that's come back to the district is actually just part of our overall cash in operations, but we are tracking all revenue and expenditures separately so we can report that to the board. And we'll have that broken out by health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, and then, of course, life and voluntary life and flex. So we'll break that down by the categories, and so you can see where each one of those are.
I'd assume the premiums are pretty consistent across the months. Well, do we have a baseline that we can kind of see that against, how much we're collecting?
Right.
Because I think the variable part is going to be on the expense side.
Right. So on the expense, we can outline that because you're right. Our premiums on a monthly basis pretty much don't change because unless we add or drop an employee, that would pretty much only change. So it's very consistent. What we can show you on the report is we can show you the actual fixed costs. So we have a certain fixed cost that we pay every month regardless. And then we also will have the self-funded medical claims. And then, of course, the district does, as part of that fixed cost, we pay for our stop-loss insurance. So we'll have a line on there. Of course, we haven't hit that yet, but we would have any reinsurance where we would actually collect money back from our stop-loss. But we'll detail all that out in the report, and we can go over that in October.
Can you explain the IMRF deemed employer contribution, why we had to put
Yes.
in more?
Yeah, so the way the IMRF works, okay, so let's just kind of put it against TRS. TRS is the retirement between the employee and the state of Illinois. Well, IMRF is different in the fact that it is a retirement between the employee and us, the employer. And so when an employee in IMRF retires, they do a calculation and they look at the amount of money that's been paid in for that employee and what's expected to be paid out. If there's a shortage, and then they assess. And it could be that you could have an employee that worked for you for a number of years and then went to work for another district at a higher rate. And so it can kick in based on which, your final employers. So in this case, we had some current IMRF employees, and they had a higher pension than what had been paid into support, if you will. So there was a catch-up premium that had to be made on behalf. Once you make that, then you're kind of, if you will, off the hook, and IMRF then considers that fully funded, and then they're in charge from there on out. But IMRF does track that by each and every employee. So it's a considerably kind of different operation than like TRS.
Anything else on the treasurer's report? With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report for July and August 2020 as presented.
So moved.
A motion, do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Deidre. If you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on, student activities report for August.
For the month ended August 31st, the total student activity fund balance was $2,097,663.70, with revenues of $267,600 and expenditures of $154,134. We had one account in the negative, Central Chess Club, of $172.87. They bought supplies for the year. That'll be resolved as the activities start going as we get going for the year.
Thank you. Any questions for the student activities report? Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
I don't have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the activities report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now would you open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on, personnel.
All right, good evening. Under employment, we have Caitlin Cassidy, special services teacher, Janet Hine, health aide, Ryan Jacobs, science maternity sub, and Lauren Pawlowski, science maternity sub. I ask the board to approve the employment report as presented.
Thank you. With that, I entertain a motion to approve the employment report.
So moved.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Resignations.
All right, under resignations, we have Maria Buck, paraprofessional, Jessica Hoag, bus driver, Sherry Crone, bus driver, Deborah Lamore, teacher, Laura Landaverde, bus driver. Then under leaves, we have Peter Cashman, bus driver, Sabrina Gorney, special services teacher, William Hare, bus driver, Deborah LaFair, food service, Jessica McCauley, paraprofessional, and Jill Pika, food service. I asked the board to adopt the resignations and leaves as presented.
I move to adopt the resignations and leaves as presented.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
FFCRA is it's a leave provision in the CARES Act, Families First Coronavirus Response Act. That's a provision that some of our employees are taking due to some of their needs because of the coronavirus pandemic. So, and they vary per employee, the reasoning why.
Thank you. Anything further on resignation and leaves? If you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Retirements.
All right, under retirements, we have John Kroc, bus driver, and Janet Nagel, bus driver. Ask the board to approve the retirements as presented.
Thank you. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to graduation honors designations recommendation.
Yes, in your backup materials is the graduation honor designation recommendation for the class of 2021. This has gone through the District 210 advisory. We, after much discussion and study, there was a change to our weighted GPA. So beginning with the class of 21, at the end of each semester, a student's GPA will be determined by a weighted system of 1 additional point for each honors and/or AP course completed with the C- or better. It's a change from the old indexing system that we used to use. Our new system is recognized by college and universities. Our old system, quite honestly, inflated grades. And so this is a more universal way to calculate weighted grades. It's my understanding that the 210 advisory came through and it will encompass the same 22 to 25% of the graduating class will be honored in these designations. Beth, I don't know if you have anything to add. I know you were in those meetings.
No, I think you pretty much covered it. As far as the multiplier goes, this system would not have to be, translated or recalculated by universities, and this is like the standard. So obviously, we wanted to make sure that the percentages matched, even though the actual GPAs would be different on the new system.
Okay. So I'd ask for a motion to approve the new graduation recognition designations as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions?
I have a question. So if a student is on like a regular curriculum and if they don't have any honors courses, the only way that they could get any kind of distinction would be to get a 4.0. Is that correct?
Yes, but, go ahead, Beth.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. It's hard to hear. It's a little echoey.
There's still the opportunity. So, Dr. Fairley, what was the breakdown? For a non-weighted, or is it just 4.0? It
is
straight up 4.0. So a student that takes the regular course would be a 4.0.
That is correct. However, because we do give an A+ designation of a 4.33, logistically,
That would be the number.
students could, without any weighted grades, make magna cum laude.
Okay. So it could get to the middle range.
That is correct.
Okay.
This is based on a weighted GPA only.
Weighted GPA only, yes. That's a good question.
Could you just touch back on, I think you said our numbering system that we're assigned, isn't necessarily uniform to what colleges are using throughout, it's based on the percentages, so.
It is now. So the weighted GPAs were changed to be more uniform. We had our own system. Lincoln Way had their own. It weighted, if a student took honors classes, it weighted all their non-honors classes as well. and therefore spread it out even further, if that makes sense.
Okay.
The distinction between students taking honors classes and students not. So if I take 3 honors and 3 non, it weighted my non-classes as well as I was taking honors classes. And so we have gone away from that and awarded just the extra point for the honors weighting. Now, when you look at our classes that are weighted, you know, they're in every curricular area. And so students have the opportunity to get this weighting throughout, you know, throughout the course selections. But this is much more consistent with what we see at colleges and universities that are looking at GPA. I think this will be particularly important this year as colleges are moving away from SAT and ACT for college acceptance because of the lack of opportunity to take the test. In fact, watching the mail at home, I see several college applications coming through now that say they're waiving the SAT this year. So I think the move to a more uniform weighted GPA will benefit our students. And that was, once again, at the advisement of the District 210 committee.
So would this cause like an increase or influx into honors classes? Because in essence, what you're telling me is that the B would be like a 4.0, and so if someone was trying to graduate with honors or some type of distinction, they would have more of a chance by being in the honors program, right?
I'll be honest, this distinction doesn't determine what class students are going to take. By the time they get this distinction, they're already accepted to a college, for the most part. They'll know this after their 7th semester in high school.
Right.
You know, most of the early admissions are done in November, so some will. But I don't think this will be a determining factor on what courses a student will take or will not take. I'm sorry, Beth, were you going to say something?
No, that was almost exactly what you're going to. I was going to say it doesn't happen until after the 7th semester when applications are already in.
Okay.
Gotcha. Any further questions? I have the motion, the second. If you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the second reading of policies.
The policies were included in the last meeting packet as well. If there aren't any questions or discussions, I would just recommend the board approve the policies as presented. A little light this time for a summer upgrade, but administration has gone through, and I think we're in good shape for the policies that were changed. One in particular would be the rules of isolated time, timeout, and physical restraint in special education. As we remember last spring, that became an issue in the Illinois State Board of Education, and we're following all the guidelines, always have, and so these have been updated as well for the new guidelines.
Thank you. With that, I entertain a motion to adopt the second reading of the policies as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? If you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. Ms. Janice Doyle?
I get it. It's still there. It says change vote still in the corner, so I did.
The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
You got it. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on, 2021 compensation reports.
Go ahead, Rob.
All right, every year, the state of Illinois requires the district to post a couple different compensation reports on our website. The first one is commonly referred to as the teacher administrator's salary report or compensation report. That has to be out there before October 1st. The second one is the IMRF greater than $75,000 a year in compensation report, which also gets posted on the district's website. I ask the board to approve these reports as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'm glad they didn't put the board member salaries on the report, too. If you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open.
How long it's going to take a read? Chime in on that. All right, moving on.
Ms. Janice Doyle?
Yes.
The vote is unanimous.
No, we only got one or two more to go, Beth. That's all right.
Okay. It's popping up and I'm clicking it. I just don't know why it's not.
Russian hackers. Moving on, interfund loan resolution for 2020-15.
Yeah, this is just a routine business. This allows us to borrow the funds from working cash to the ed fund, which will reduce our dependency on tax anticipation warrants. We're asking to transfer the $2.3 million to the education fund. Will be repaid at the end of the fiscal year when the 2020 tax collection is completed.
Thank you. With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the interfund loan resolution 2020-15 as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? If you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open.
I clicked it.
Okay. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Fantastic. Moving on, the ratification of the amended collective bargaining agreement to include bus drivers between Lincoln Way High School Board of Education District Number 210 and the Lincoln Way High School Educational Support Professionals, IEA-NEA, for 2019 through 2022.
All right, since last spring, the district and our bus drivers union began bargaining for a contract. This is new for our bus drivers to join our already established educational support staff union. It was, I think, a really great process, a little different bargaining via Zoom, but I think the process went along really, really well, and we ended up with a very fair contract for both the drivers and for the district. So I asked the board to approve the amended collective and bargaining agreement to include the bus drivers between Lincoln Way High School Board of Education, District Number 210, and the Lincoln Way High School Educational Support Professionals, IEA, NEA, LWESP for 2019-2022 through 2022.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any questions or discussion?
I just have a question for Rob. There's quite a bit of yellow highlights in there. Is that just new language applicable only to the bus drivers because we use the contract for the bargaining unit already in place?
Yeah, so what we did is we went through and we highlighted all those areas that were the additions to the contract. We felt that would be easier for people to see what those additions were.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? If you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. Mrs. Doyle? The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to informational items. Report from Lincoln Way Special Education District 843 Governing Board from the August 25th meeting. Deidre, anything?
Nothing else to add other than what was in the minutes. Nothing else to add but what was in the minutes.
Thank you. Moving on, FOIA request. None this month?
There are none this month.
Wow. Thank you. Building and Grounds.
The report is in your backup materials for your review. Mr. Wilkie would be happy to answer any questions if. Yeah.
I did a Deidre, we'll just start calling it a Deidre.
We'll get used to these about 3 or 4.
It's now been named. Hey, Rich, just real quickly, the water and sewer for July at Lincoln Way Central was out of bounds. Do you have any idea why?
I do. I can't remember, but I did talk to Mike about it. There was a toilet that was running continuously or a broken pipe, something, but we were aware of it and we identified it.
Excellent, good. And then the expected cleaning services that we're running now, about 33% above last year, is that what you would anticipate as we go forward now under our current environment, or?
The July and August are both estimates at this time.
Okay.
We started a new contract. We went out to bid. The
Right.
bid was quite a bit higher, but we're also paying actual hours worked, and we haven't received the invoices for the actual hours worked. So it will lag a little bit, but I'm anticipating that to be about the number.
I have a question. So in regards to the cleaning, is that what you believe the numbers will be if we go to hybrid as well?
Yes, at this time. That could change depending on how much of the school building we use, if we have more attendance, if we start to have different sports and activities, it could go higher. Right now, we're utilizing a lot of the folks that would normally be cleaning locker rooms and gyms and bleachers and all these things. We're using those people to do our enhanced disinfection. If we were to ramp up into full operation, it could cost more.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to community relations.
Community Relations Report, once again, is in your backup materials for your review.
Asset of the month.
Asset of the month for October, self-management and restraint. Kids believe it's important not to be sexually active or use alcohol and drugs at home. Be clear about your boundaries, values, and the reasons at school. It gives students opportunities to express their values. And then in the community, emphasize mutual respect and responsibility.
Thank you. Fiscal year 2022 budget calendar.
Budget calendar is updated and in your packet for review. Brad has put that back together. So it looks like we're on pace right now. If any board members have any questions or concerns about where we are month to month, either now or prior to our next meeting, feel free to reach out to Brad. But I think we're on target. Brad and I met and went over these dates, and I think we're in pretty good shape. Anything to add, Brad?
No, I just want to make sure that everyone looks at the new timeline, if you will, for approving the CIP, the capital improvement process. So just want to make sure the board's comfortable with that. If they're not, we need to know sooner than later, because that will be what we'll be planning around, so.
So next month, we'll be presenting the projects. Now, several, if not most, are from this past year. And
That were postponed, correct.
Correct. But that will be in October. And then we won't ask to vote in October, have discussion October, and come back in November for those items.
Ultimate approval will be when the bids come in March.
Correct.
But, we don't
Rather
like
to
to
move
go
forward.
out to the market unless, the board is, if you will, on board.
Thank you, Brad.
So what we will be doing, though, is we'll be making a decision then in March to transfer the money when we won't have the full look at actually what we've done for the budget for this year until end of June.
Correct. We'll have, up-to-date look and have a pretty good idea of where we are. So the board will definitely have all the information up to that point to determine whether or not we would be in a position to move money. Correct.
Thank you. First reading for policies.
Included in your backup materials are the August memo and reading for updated policies. Between now and the October meeting, if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know.
Thank you. Legislative report.
Nothing additional to report at this time. It will be interesting to see where things go financially with the state over the next several months. We have a pretty good indication now of what funds we're going to be able to receive through some of our grants and some of the relief monies. We'll have that information in the next meeting as we kind of get more of a complete picture. But certainly there will be some budgetary challenges in the state as they go through the next several months.
Thank you. Superintendent's district report.
I did provide just kind of an update of some of the metrics that we looked at on August 18th. We continue to meet weekly with Will County superintendents. I have that meeting tomorrow with Will County superintendents and the Will County Department of Health. So we continue to discuss and look at those metrics. So I just provided those for the board and the public's review.
Any other business?
Nothing at this time.
Any correspondence? None? With that, I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session for collective negotiating.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. If you could open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. We're now going to, I don't believe we have any action after closed session, or there'll be no action after closed session this evening.